All right. Well, as promised, I'm back and I'm talking about a topic that those of you who know me know I'm very passionate about. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about sustainability. Again, we don't have a whole lot of time, so I'm going to rush through things pretty quickly. But if you want to know more, please do reach out to me because it's something that I can talk at excruciating length about. Because as I've mentioned, I am very passionate about this topic. So, first of all, I'd like to start off with the Sustainable Development Goals. If you're not familiar with the SDGs, they're goals that were created by the United Nations. All of the member nations of the United Nations got together over a period of a number of years and came up with these goals to try to take the place of the Millennium Development Goals, which after the turn of the millennium had already run out of time. So, they wanted to focus more on doing the same kind of development of trying to lift up some of the developing nations and everything, but also recognizing that we do have a serious sustainability crisis that we have to deal with. And the thing you may find interesting about it, if you've heard of things like the Green New Deal, and people always wondered, it's like, well, what does all this other stuff have to do with it? They're actually all part of the Sustainable Development Goals, too. As you can see here, there are 17 goals with a whole bunch of targets and indicators that are a part of that. And really, you kind of need all of these things. And if you think about it, it makes sense. If you think about, well, what does poverty or hunger have to do with climate change? But of course, climate change can impact both of those things. And also, if you're poor or you're hungry, you're really not going to put a lot of effort into trying to address some of the other concerns that you have, like, a quality education or improved health or decent work and economic growth. If you're poor, you probably don't have decent work and economic growth. So these are all interrelated. And that's the thing that really fascinates me about them. They're not perfect, but they are the best tools that we have. And I do really appreciate that there are the targets and the indicators. So you can actually measure against specific things and see how each nation or each state, or even in a lot of cases, larger cities, also have measures of these indicators and how they're doing to achieve them. So that is, to me, one of the best things that has come out of the UN in many years are the Sustainable Development Goals. And it's a really nice framework for addressing the larger issue of sustainability and getting back to what we were talking about before, also things like climate justice and social justice as well. And one of the things that I've done at Google Developer Group Tucson and also with the Mountain Region GDGs is I've done some events that have been oriented around the SDGs. I did a sustainability series that ran for over a year. So once a month, I was just choosing one of the Sustainable Development Goals and then focusing on tools and data and approaches to visualizing or understanding that particular goal. And so, it may take, depending on which goal it was, it may take a different form. Like, for example, for quality education, I would focus on things like educational tools that are available, or ways people can learn online, or ways that we can make education more broadly available. For something like poverty, there's actually some really great maps for Tucson that we could look at and dive into the data and see, the relationship between things like poverty and also issues like a good environment, like, how much tree cover do you have? If you see things like life on land, which one of the things it looks at is how much tree cover you have in an area, there, not surprisingly, is a direct correlation between the poverty rate and how many trees a neighborhood has. So really fascinating to be able to do that over more than a year. And then we culminated with a mountain region sustainability hackathon where the participants could choose any of the goals that they wanted to and try and come up with some kind of an app or a game or whatever they wanted to do to address one of these goals. Also, of course, Google does have a sustainability effort, as do actually most tech companies. Microsoft has actually been doing a lot of work in this area as well, if you'd like to take a look at that. But Google does have this page you may not be familiar with. It is their sustainability page and talks about not only the mission and the commitments that Google has made and the progress they've made towards those, but also there are some reports and there are some technology tools there that you can take advantage of. So it's really something to be that's good to be familiar with, especially if you're trying to come up with some inspiration for how do I dress some of these things. And you can see the link right there is just sustainability.google for that. And something you can do for your own events, especially in-person events, is start thinking about how can I reduce the waste, because that's a big problem we have with all of our events. You've gone to conferences, you go to meetups, you end up with a lot of food waste, you end up with a lot of trash, you end up with maybe a lot of swag that you never use again, and you end up just giving that swag away, or it ends up in the trash as well. So try to think ahead and think about how to reduce that. For example, a good thing to do is wait until you actually have your attendee count, if you can, to order food. If you're going to be ordering lunch or something, don't order it in advance. Wait and see how many people show up and then place the order. Also, try and provide some more sustainable options. So, in other words, recyclable plates or something. Although recycling, there are mixes, that's a mixed bag there as well. But try and, if you can, using reusable silverware and plates is the best. But if not, try and prefer paper to plastic, for example. Try to provide as much of a sustainable option as you can. Also, if you are handing out swag, try and make it something that's going to be useful and something people are going to use, like a water bottle. A reusable water bottle, not one of those cheap plastic ones, but a nice metal one, is something people will use, especially here in Arizona. So, try and come up with something that's going to be useful to the people, and it's not going to just end up in the trash can. If you have a recycling program in your area, collect the recycling afterwards. Make sure that the recycling doesn't end up in the trash. Also, try and encourage people coming to your events to use public transit or bicycle or carpool to try and reduce that carbon footprint of getting to the event. And one thing you can do are there are tools available to track the impact for your meetings. So that could be something really interesting. It'd be put together a dashboard of the carbon impact or the waste impact or whatever you're interested in tracking, and track that for your meetings. Okay, so again, I do have some questions for you to think about. I'd like you to take 3 minutes. There's three questions. Um, Try and think about how you can ensure your next event will be more sustainable. Um, are Think if you might want to do a sustainability focused event like the sustainability series or sustainability hackathon. There's a lot of really cool things being done with games for change, for example. So that's some inspiration. And then, was there one of the SDGs? I know you didn't get much chance to look at all 17, but is there one that you're most excited about diving into? So I want you to think about that. Again, 3 minutes. I'm going to start the timer. I will give you a hack halfway through and at 30 seconds. Okay, halfway through at 1:30. 30 seconds. All right. I didn't actually expect the audio on that, but that's okay. Um, so you know the drill now. I'm going to ask you to share out. Again, I won't talk during the timer, but I will go ahead and start a 5-minute timer. Please share out what your thoughts were on these three questions, and hopefully you got some inspiration that you can share with each other. So here we go, 5 minutes. All right, and that is time. So, and I believe if the schedule is correct, that I'm the only thing standing between you and lunch. So, I hope you had a good discussion and you had some great ideas that came out of that little thinking session. Remember that a little thought for you to leave with is this quote from Antonio Guterres, who is the Secretary General of the United Nations, that the sustainable development goals are more important now than ever. Now's the time to secure the well-being of people, economies, societies, and our planet. So there aren't many more important things that we can do. And I hope you had some great ideas coming out of this. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me. And I wish you the best for the rest of the summit. I really wish I could have been there with you.